this afternoon in Sisters, so I'm heading over a little early to do a little bit of exploring before my meeting later on. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen this much snow at this point on Highway 126. This is so cool. I've been up this highway countless times, and yet I don't even recognize it. I have no idea where we are. It just looks so completely different. All right, we're coming up on Clear Lake Resort, right here on the side of Highway 126. This used to be a big secret, so my buddy Matt ruined it by making a video. Matt Cook. So it's clear I'm going to be on snow all day, so I'm going to go ahead and air down now. So on pavement I normally run the tires at about 40 psi. That's basically hockey pucks. It doesn't make any sense to have your tires that hard when you're driving on a slick surface. You let air out of them and you turn them more and more into like snowmobile treads. It's definitely worth airing down. Added benefit, if you're driving on a highway like this where a lot of big rigs go and they've got chains on and they churn up the road, and so it gets all of these ridges almost like driving on a washboard gravel road. Air down, oh man, so much smoother, quieter, softer, much more pleasant drive, and better grip. In this deep, fresh snow, those KO2s aired down, so grippy. It's like driving a snowmobile. I mean, probably not. I've never driven a snowmobile, so what do I know? But I'm astonished by how comfortable this is. Is it a good idea to go drive around remote, snowy roads you've never been on before by yourself? No, it's not a good idea. But here's the thing today. I've got cell service. I'm really just a handful of miles from Sisters. And I'm meeting up with a number of people who drive 4x4s. Absolute worst case scenario, if I get stuck and can't get myself out, I can get a hold of someone really easily to come and help me. Normally, I would not suggest going out and exploring the backcountry in the snow by yourself. I also very deliberately picked an area that I knew was going to be flat, mostly flat. So there's no drop-offs, there's no off-camber, it's really just flat, easy driving. It's just a question of getting through the snow, and there's not too much snow. don't know if the camera is picking up the snow, but it is positively enchanting. Let's see, no, that's not the road. There's the road. So when I met up with Jason a couple of weeks ago, I felt kind of bad because I showed up completely empty-handed. In terms of firewood, the wood that I collected on my first night of camping that weekend, I burned up that night, and the second day with Eric, we were out in the desert and there was no wood at all. We were lucky that Eric had just packed some store-bought wood along with him. So I felt bad for showing up empty-handed, and Jason fortunately had wood, but we burned all his wood and none of mine. So I didn't want to show up empty-handed today. I definitely wanted to have at least some wood. I've been trying to keep my eye out as I poke around for some possibly dead trees. I'm not super experienced at collecting firewood, especially in the middle of winter. From watching Jason of Primal Outdoors, as I recall, he looks for trees that look like they've been down for a year or two at least, so that, I guess, so they've seasoned, dried out, but that aren't on the ground and that maybe are somehow protected so they're not so wet. This one I can see it's pretty wet. This one, with the angle it's at and it's under a little more cover, it seems like it's a little more dry. It's skinny, but it's wood. It'll burn, I think. I don't know if this is a branch or something, it's just snagged up there, but it's dead dry, and because it's vertical, it's not had any snow sitting on it at all. I was about to start cutting this up right here where I pulled it down, but then I remembered, no, bring it over to the car, cut it up there, one trip instead of many. But up at the front of the line, we got Jason of Primal Outdoors, and then right in front of me is Recon Overland, and behind me is Adventure Centric. Behind him, we've got Edward Shin. So we're heading up into the snow, in the Cascades, and we're gonna camp.
out Saturday morning and we woke up to some snow. About 4 inches came down, and it is still snowing.
Come here, Holly. Come say hi. Come say hi.
You waiting to see Daisy and Wheeler? Where's Daisy and Wheeler? Let's go see Daisy and Wheeler. Well, Chris made me a Vietnamese coffee this morning and it is delicious. So I don't have to make coffee, but I'm gonna heat up some water and have a little oatmeal. Well, some days I like to cook a real breakfast, but a lot of times just an oatmeal cup is enough for me. It's inexpensive, it's easy, warm on a cold morning, very satisfying. The rest of the guys have left their camp set up in the campground. I'm going back to Eugene today. But first we're gonna run up into the mountains a little higher and see if we can get in some deeper snow. We'll see just how far the forester can go in this deep snow. I'm not going to do too much filming of our drive today. because there's a bunch of us, and Jason is doing some filming. Maybe Ed is also.
Let's stop right here.
Well, this is definitely the deepest snow I've driven the Forester in, but the trail's getting cut for me by Jason up in front is plowing through the virgin snow, and then Edward Shin's truck is just low enough that he's scraping off the top of the middle section, and just enough that I'm going along with about an inch of clearance underneath. Working well for me.
Oh, I think Jason might have slid off the road up there. Looks like he's struggling to get back out of the ditch. The road is just off camber enough that even with the winch, he keeps sliding right back down into that ditch. With Jason recovered, we're proceeding towards our destination, but we're steadily gaining elevation, and the snow just keeps getting deeper.
All right, well, Tyler tried to get us further up the road, but the snow was getting so deep that there was just no way we're going to get any further. So then we just got into a little bit of trouble with the turnaround. He just got just a little bit stuck and dug in.
The guy that gets stuck.
So that's why we had to go and dig him out. We started shoveling that snow out from in front of the tires, and I was thinking really what needed to happen was just move as much bulk out of the way so that he could roll up and over it. But Jason came down from his truck and pointed out that
Okay, I think we're all good.
and pointed out that we needed to actually dig further down.
Tyler's turned around and coming. So I don't know what you guys want to do. If you're not sure where to go, just let me by when we get down at the bottom of the hill, and I'll lead again. I don't know. I think we should have let the Subaru lead up here. I think it could have plowed through.
I'm certain I wouldn't have made it any further. So anyway, Jason pointed out that you really need to dig down below the front of the tire, really like down to the ground, really, because there ends up being just a small little dam of snow that will just keep that tire locked in. Once he dug that out, it was impressive the difference that it made. We had a bunch of snow moved away, and Chris still couldn't advance, and Jason dug.
Detour here. Hold on, guys.
Come again?
He's coming now.
Can I finish my story now? Once Jason dug like that final little inch out of in front of the tires, he climbed right up out of there with no problem. So we've given up on this little excursion. There's just too much snow. We're gonna go back down. I think the rest of the guys are gonna stop and grab some lunch and head back up to the campsite. Me, I have to head back to Eugene. So time to air up and head home.